Hello everybody, this is Florist from the Minecraft server 1moreblog.com, and I'm the admin on the CRIPS Discord, and that's because I've been helping out a lot, including making little scripts like this. And why do I make them? Well, I don't mind sharing what I make, what I use myself. I have questions once in a while and I need it to better manage my servers. And for that reason, for convenience, because I'm lazy, I end up with little add-ons, little custom alias commands, little videos, FAQ pages with steps to help me remember how to do it. But then I also share all of that on the CMI repository for my account, which is unofficial, but the data is there. And I also share things on YouTube, so make sure to subscribe. And I also make these little thingies that I then share with everybody. So for CMI, this resource script is about finding some details about the people in a database. So when you go to Mr. Dev on GitHub under my CMI directories, you'll find this script which you can download and then customize. I'm no professional. This works for my system. It will not work on Windows. It will probably work on Ubuntu. It probably doesn't work on FreeBSD. So feel free to make suggestions on how to unify this, and we can work on people testing things and then reporting issues, and I can try and work it out and see if I can test it. And people are free to clone this and make pull requests after they've made contributions. I can review them and see if things will still work for me and then merge the changes so it can hopefully work for more people. But anyway, let's get to the script. This is about the SQLite 3 database, the flat file thing basically. Well, it's not really flat file. I mean, everything is on disk anyway. From CMI, where all the player data is stored. So I kind of want to have the situation sped up where I gather info about a player even when the server is offline, because I can query the database directly. And yes, I can run the CLI, the command line interface command directly for SQLite 3 and do a select query for the specific username and then grab the data from the output. But it's messy, it's not visually pleasing, and you can't really say, but now this person, or what's the UUID, and can you run a command, blah, blah, blah. So the script has one additional thing, by the way, which is sending command strings to the session with tmux. And if you use screen, it doesn't support it, but tmux currently does, and it's super handy for me. My apologies, after a couple hours of coding and testing, I'm really tired. It's like almost midnight. I'm just recording this so I get it out of the way. But I want to point out that by default, the tmux stuff, if that's how you pronounce it even, is disabled. It's not enabled by default. So this script should work passively without sending commands to the server. The commands that it does send to the server is expecting what I use, which is my other script, the wannabe Minecraft shell script, which you can also get on my GitHub, which I use to run a server. Using the start one, I actually fork it to the background, and the session is called MC server. If you have 3 servers and you want to do something specific, then you have to change this. If you have 3 hosting accounts and they all use MC server, then you should be fine. But it's disabled by default. It's using the default session name that I use, which works on my system, and then all the other settings are related to this. So you by default will get the UUID. So any command will run with UUID. If you want to customize the command, instead of check account, you want to do something else, then and it doesn't support UUID, then you could toggle this to false. Then it will be the IGN or the username, the player name, and then you can use the alternative command. There are no parameters here, by the way. So it really is like instead of CMI check account player name or CMI check account UUID, like the user ID, if you change this to ban, like BAN, then it will be CMI ban user ID. So you have to think about this stuff, and if you want to use TPA, for example, there's no way to add more parameters to the line. So you have to think about that. It's not meant to be mega flexible. It's just flexible enough to do what I want to do with this. And I'll explain why. It's because sometimes when you get flooded by somebody that created like 12 accounts, they're all premium migrated accounts, so they're legit to join from different IPs that aren't blocked yet, but they're sort of recognizable. Then, for example, if they all kind of have the same word in them, for example, blue or whatever, banana, and you can sort of recognize them, then it's kind of nice that you can change this to, for example, kick or ban or something like that. And then you can set it to be UUID false, so it's the IGN, the username. Then the tmux enabled is true, and then the alternative command for check account of this is false, change that to true. The alternative command to, for example, ban. And then suddenly, because it's just a few toggles, it's more to verbally explain than it is to actually do. But then with a few toggles and a keyword, you can yeet all the bad players out. For example, somebody joining with the N word in their username. But if your database has like 50,000 players and 5 of them have the N word and you're just cleaning up, you can put the N word in for ban, and then whoop, you run the script and they're all gone. So it's dynamic enough that you can actually do something with it that I once in a while have to do. Whether it's one server putting data in a central database, then that central database syncs up with CMI on this server runs the script once a month, and certain banned usernames get purged or something. So you can see how this could be more than just a quick little lookup. But out of the box, passively, tmux is ignored, all the custom options are ignored, it's just letting you enter a keyword, which should be like a username, and then you can find that stuff. It will find it super fast, it's like instant. So the query is like, get me a maximum amount of results from all the users in the CMI database for this keyword. This could be 0 results, 1 or more, up to the maximum that you've set. However, if tmux commands sending is enabled and you send commands, then after sending those commands, it does a 1 second by default, but you can speed it up, you can slow it down, a 1 second delay. So that's why there's a delay. If you have like 5,000 as your max and you find 5,000 usernames with an M in it, you don't want to run 5,000 commands in boom, like instant. You want to delay them so the server has time to catch up. So that's a possibility. Debug is also on and off. By default, it is off. Debug is only visually outputting some info. It doesn't actually do anything else, but it shows you sometimes, there might be more stuff in the future, but right now it shows the tmux and if there's a delay and how much it is and that sort of stuff. So there's some functions for the output. It won't run under sudo or as a root user. There's a bit of a theme that you can customize if needed. But then the rest of the script really starts, including the required syntax, so something that you want to add. The function to send the actual keys and then potentially a debug output. And then everything else. Here's the query to the database. So if needed, you could customize this. But right now, SQLite 3, which is what the default is for CMI, which is what I use. I don't use MySQL, so I'm not supporting it right now, but somebody is free to, like I said, do a pull request and I can review it. Anyway, then it goes through all the results and it checks if it has to do something, and then it runs that keys function for whatever command or the alternative command on either the user ID or the username. And then it does the sleepy thing, and then we're done. We can output the result that we have, and the end of the script is here. So you grab the code and you dump it in the CMI directory. So let's say you got a server that is live with a plugins directory where you have CMI up and running. You will have like 1 or 2 databases, but we're going to use the default one. Actually, no, let's not do that. Let's do test database. How about that? And then we have our script here. So let's customize it. We have to say that we want to use test. And we want to get 3 results maximum for whatever user. Tmux is enabled. For that server, everything is true, including this one. And we want to use check accounts. The 1 second, we can play with that later, and let's enable debug. As you can see, nothing else has to get configured. This is a couple of seconds to set it up just how you want. Then you can go to your console and into that particular directory for the live server plugin CMI, wherever that is. And if it's executable, you can just run it. If you misrun it, it will tell you, hey, I halted the script because the syntax, the missing argument, whatever. So we need a user or a user ID. So let's search up Mr. Flores because I know that username exists. And I have Tmux enabled, so it says trying to find up to 3 matches in the database test for the keyword Mr. Flores, and then it went through the script and it ran the command to the server for the user ID to that particular session and check account because we enabled it, and the time was delayed by 1 second before it went to the next record. Technically I could tweak this that if there's just 1 result then there's no need for sleep, but whatever, you got a second, you can spare it. So visually we will say this is the user ID that we found and we linked it to a URL. You can click that and it will open up the URL in the browser for the UUID, which is super handy. Because the user ID is unique, that's where the other U stands for, and the username, you can have 12 user IDs with that username in the past, so it's less reliable. It's nice to see that the name stands out, and then optionally, if you don't want to do tmux, you can copy paste this if you want. So if you change this to testing or some other command, so instead of this one you want testing, let's turn off tmux false, and let's not do debug either. Let's just run it again. There we go. So that custom command also gets updated here. Very, very nice. Let's see if I made a mistake and forgot to update this part. Yes, I did. Technically, this should change to the username, I guess. It does in tmux, it doesn't do it here. I'll fix that later. I just never bothered to. I always want the user ID. I never bothered to check for that. All right, so let's turn on these things again. They're back to what it was before. 3 results maximum. It doesn't have to actually be the full username. If you think, I think the name had Flores in it, then it will try to find up to those cap of matches, which is 3 for that database test for Flores. And it found them. It found iFlores and it found Flores. Okay, so it actually says here that it sent the keys to that session. And I have that session right here. So as you can see, it did, it tried testing, which is invalid, but that's okay. And it also tried to find the iFlores person. That iFlores person got banned at some point and has never actually played. So even though you can find it with the script, there is no additional info available, so there is no reason to print it out, apparently. This is just how CMI deals with that. Mr. Flores, on the other hand, has a bunch of information from IP to all sorts of stuff. And this is super handy, of course. Let me change testing to, I don't know what else to set this to. I can't do much to myself in the, in the server. I'm not even in the game. So, you know what? I'll set it to false. I don't need this. Let's turn off debug actually. Let's not spam. See how quickly it is to change this. Let's start kind of clean. I mentioned blue earlier, so let's find usernames with blue in it. And as you can see, we found a couple and we can click on them and find their details online super quick, which is very handy. I think there is also a Mr. Blue. Mr. Big, Mr. Blue, there it is, perfect. Okay, let's see if we can find more Mr. Blue accounts. Yep, 2 of them. Well, there you go. Now I have found somebody that perhaps got banned and then bypassed the ban. I know their account, they didn't get banned. I'm just saying it as an example. So yeah, this is very handy. This helps me quickly find some info. Sometimes for another plugin, I just need to know the user ID. I don't want to log into the server and play the game and then do CMI info and get it and copy paste it, go to the other plugin and look it up. Sometimes I don't want to go to the server. I know I have the data available locally from a backup. I can skip the whole process and check it out locally, especially for long-term players. Like I mentioned, in case of people flooding or hate speech or other safety reasons, you might want to filter out certain keywords. Then technically, I don't want to do it because this is basically being tested on the live server. But you could set it to ban. And then let's make sure tmux is false. And then if you would have that to true, let's do test just in case. There we go. So you would either have a quick access to the unique ID to specifically ban that particular person, regardless of their old username. Or you are getting a pretty good impression of the accounts that you might want to check out. And if you set it to ban and you have tmux on, it would have banned these 3 people. So imagine you want to ban hate speech. You could search for the keyword hate speech, you know what I mean, and then have it banned, and then whoop, they're all gone. So the script is, like I mentioned, the script is dynamic enough to do something interesting for finding info, for checking up on players, to finding duplicate accounts, to quickly get additional info or quick links to NameMC where you can get more information from. Or sometimes you could customize the script to give it exactly what you want to send forward to another API endpoint. It is flexible enough to get you to do what you might need to do with a CMI database on a small or large server. And I understand this isn't for everybody. Not everybody has a need for this, and not everybody cares about this. They're like, oh, I'm in the console anyway. I don't care. I could just type in the commands. Sure, that's great, but I do that almost every day. But sometimes I'm in a situation where there has been a competition and we want to make sure that the people playing are who they say they are, or that the winners are, that the prizes go to the correct user ID, and then running it quickly here and then pasting it into that plugin on the other screen, so you can just do like search for the keyword, copy paste, and then you're done. Saves so much time. It's a little nicer than in-game or going through multiple databases. So this is one script. Another plugin might have another one, and you can have them work together sometimes. I'm just saying that for me this is super helpful, and this is the latest update for March 26th now, because it's midnight, but the March 25th build is out and it works for 1.80.1 for CMI 9.1.3 point whatever. And it should work on all the versions. I've tested this on Mac OS, and like I mentioned, I suspect that it works on Ubuntu, and if not, then just report it. I hope this is useful, and that this walkthrough, even though it's a boring video because it's a bit technical, is interesting and helpful to the people that want to use this script or want to find out if this is something that they want to use. All right, let's do something mental here and show you how quick it is. Maximum of 30 usernames on the live database, and tmux enabled. Nope, we don't need this. This was check account. That doesn't matter. Yep, okay. Okay, let's see how many people have MR. Oh my gosh, look at that. Quite a few. Mad. Mikey. There it is, Mad Mikey B. Found a user in a couple of steps. Something I couldn't do in-game, because in-game the info command and all that sort of stuff isn't flexible enough to query for results. This is not a small database. Where is it? Over here. It's 140 megabytes, but on a server with a lot more data, a lot more records, way older database as well. It's just as fast. It's as fast as the computer can deal with it, basically. It's only slowing down when you run tmux, and you have to send commands to tmux, and you want to delay them so you don't have 30 responses or 30 results spamming 30 commands all at once. That's the only thing. And you can use, in the sleep thing over here, you can use 0.6, for example, for just over half a second of speed. So it goes a little faster, especially handy if you only have like up to 10 results. This hasn't been a problem. This is basically how I use it, with 0.6 or 0.5 seconds, and I run it in debug mode, and I have a different command here, like a network command, but this is so handy. For me, it is very handy, and I hope some people enjoy this, and now after watching this video they go, you know what, this could actually solve a problem for me. So enjoy it. You can find it on scripts.onemoreblog.com. That goes to my Mr. FDev repo, where there is one, or account on GitHub, where there is one repo for CMI, and then under resources scripts you can find this one. Okay, I don't know what else to explain about this. You get the user ID, you get the username, you get quick little copy paste things for other stuff, and you can, I use the option on the, or whatever button on the Mac to make this clickable. I don't know about your terminal thing, but this is what I use. And then I can quickly check the player, I can check their name history and what happened over here. You know, it's so handy. Anyway, whatever, you know what I mean. Like the video if you think this was at least worth a couple hours of my time to make. And if you think it's terrible, then please open an issue on GitHub and explain what I should improve, whether it's the bash code, whether it's improved security or something, whether it's support for screen, you know, stuff like that. By all means, submit problems and clone and make a PR to improve the code, and we can, you know, get better with this project over time. All right, little advertising for myself. There's a lot on my CMI thing. I have my YouTube playlists. I got all my little add-ons here, including finduser. You can find it there. I got some stuff that I use on the live server that I share, but not everything. Example files for people to check out. And at the top, I even, on the resources, have my FAQ for CMI, which is getting pretty extensive thanks to everybody contributing to it and me having dedicating a lot of my time into it. The 1MB start script and 1MB, which forks the session, by the way, and the 1MB stuff is under server, I think. Yes, 1MB Minecraft and 1MB start. So the start script will attempt to run the 1MB Minecraft one and fork it. Here it is. Here's that MC server for the session, and fork it to the background using the 1MB Minecraft shell script, which is here. So those two is what I use. So if you want to simplify it even more, the way that you run your servers, which some people like when they don't care about control panels and stuff like that. But I have a bunch of, you know, a bunch more stuff. But the only thing that isn't actually here is CMI. CMI is its own repository. That's the only difference. Talking about add-ons, the social one is kind of nice. It lets you quickly add YouTube, Snapchat, or whatever. There is a social thing, and for Buster Pro there's even a GUI, and it's pretty nifty. Pretty extensive and kind of nice to play with, and easy to add and remove stuff. There's all sorts of stuff. So from CMI, add-on thingies, example commands, FAQs to scripts, at least one now, the one that I've updated today. And it's not that big, but it works and it's now pretty flexible and dynamic. And this video explained what it does and what it could do. So I hope that's helpful. Thank you for watching this video. If you made it all the way to the end, I really appreciate that. I don't know how you found the motivation to stay tuned, but I do appreciate it. Thank you so much. And see you guys on the Discord. I'll link my own discord.gg/florist, but I will also do the code for CRIPS to get there. All of that stuff is in the description of this video. And players on my onemoreblock.com server, this video is useless to you because it's for server owners or developers. And people that run CMI for their own server, that's very cool. I hope this script helps you. This video was for you. Looking forward to some of your comments, by the way, so don't be shy. Scroll down, the video is over, and leave a positive or at least a constructive comment. Okay, I'm tired, as you can tell by me rambling. I'm gonna export this video, put it on YouTube. I'm gonna watch a movie, and enjoy my weekend, because now it is Saturday at the end of March and I want to go. Bye. Thank you.